The database story of young Sheldon diverges significantly from the tone of TBD. Hello everyone, my name is Alana. Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And give this video a like up the way Sheldon's Grant database subplot is handled in Young Sheldon Season 6 sets the spin-off apart from its predecessor, The Big Bang Theory. Few viewers could have foreseen that Young Sheldon, the spin-off of The Big Bang Theory, would have a more somber and mature tone than its predecessor when it debuted in 2018. Sheldon was, after all, the most ridiculous and outrageous character on The Big Bang Theory, and fans were reassured by the sitcom's fleeting appearances of his family that they were just as ridiculous as their most well-known member. Young Sheldon, on the other hand, did ultimately take itself more seriously than The Big Bang Theory. Young Sheldon's Big Bang Theory narrative seemed distinct from its predecessor right away. For starters, The Big Bang Theory was a more conventional multi-camera hangout program with a laugh track, whereas Young Sheldon was a sitcom with only one camera. Compared to The Big Bang Theory, Young Sheldon felt less stagey and more sentimental as a result. The fact that many of Young Sheldon's plots dealt with more somber topics than The Big Bang Theory served to further highlight this tonal gap. This was especially noticeable during the 6th season of Young Sheldon, when Sheldon's own tale about a Grant database was marginalized, as The Big Bang Theory spin-off balanced stories about underage drinking, infidelity, and pregnancy. The main reason Young Sheldon Season 6 felt so much more serious than The Big Bang Theory was because, in spite of its title, the spin-off doesn't concentrate on Sheldon. In A Launch Party and a Whole Human Being, Episode 14 of Young Sheldon Season 6, this was very noteworthy. The title itself drew a comparison between Sheldon's very inconsequential launch party and Mandy giving birth, in addition to dedicating more screen time to George and Mary's Young Sheldon divorce than the launch party of the same name. This demonstrates how Sheldon frequently appears as a supporting character in Young Sheldon's most dramatic tales. While this would have dominated the action of The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon's attempts to finance and run a Grant database have been a humorous subplot in Young Sheldon Season 6. Sheldon, the most prominent character on The Big Bang Theory, was the focus of the show's stories, but he is frequently pushed to the sidelines of his spin-off. Sheldon's parents even acknowledged in the introduction of A Launch Party and a Whole Human Being that they don't comprehend the database and weren't overly worried about it. This change in perspective is further shown when Missy sarcastically responds to the statement that it's Sheldon's big day by wondering when it isn't. Missy's opinion was mirrored in the events of the episode A Launch Party and a Whole Human Being, when Sheldon's much-discussed database launched turned out to be a disappointing letdown, while Mandy, Georgie, George, Mary, and Missy all got into dramatic stories. The Big Bang Theory spin-off's goal of having a more serious tone than its predecessor led to this Young Sheldon issue. Because Sheldon is a naturally humorous figure, Young Sheldon was unable to concentrate on him. The majority of The Big Bang Theory's weekly standalone stories revolved around Sheldon's shenanigans, even if the romance plotline concentrated on Leonard, on the other hand, has little need for its main character because of the serious topics that Young Sheldon discusses, and the soap operatic behavior of the character's family. Young Sheldon focuses less on Sheldon than the original series, even though it purports to chronicle Sheldon's life prior to The Big Bang Theory. The tone of the spin-off makes this inevitable, but it does mean that Young Sheldon frequently references the past of The Big Bang Theory. Young Sheldon had to give the cartoonish characters from The Big Bang Theory, Mary, Missy, Georgie, and George Sr., human characteristics in order to make them interesting. Instead of having significant implications, Sheldon's Grant database plot served as a break from more somber plotlines like Georgie and Mandy's pregnancy and George and Mary's marriage. As a result, Sheldon himself ended up having a smaller role in a show that is supposedly about him. Thankfully, young Sheldon benefits from concentrating more on his family and less on Sheldon. The spin-off feels less like a rehashing of The Big Bang Theory, since it has a more dramatic tone than its predecessor. Star Ian Armitage has the opportunity to reinvent Sheldon without carrying the show, thanks to young Sheldon's removal from The Big Bang Theory's cartoonish cast. The hit CBS sitcom Young Sheldon has always played the delicate balancing act of being a prequel to the legendary The Big Bang Theory, while also carving its own distinct identity. Fans of both shows have long debated how well Sheldon Cooper's origin story matches up with his future self, but a recent storyline in Young Sheldon has taken the divide between the two shows to a whole new level. With its latest database story arc, Young Sheldon delivers a shockingly different tone, making viewers realize just how far the spin-off has strayed from the lighthearted comedic approach of The Big Bang Theory. If you're a Young Sheldon fan, you know the show thrives on the early, tender years of Sheldon's genius, with plenty of quirky humor and touching moments as Sheldon navigates life in Texas with his unusual intellect. However, when the storyline about Sheldon and his database project emerged, fans couldn't help but feel like they were watching an entirely different show. It wasn't just the usual geeky charm of Sheldon. This storyline seemed more serious, more intense, and deeply focused on a subject matter that wasn't purely comedic. Sheldon's efforts to create an advanced database took center stage, but instead of delivering the usual laugh-out-loud moments, the story leaned heavily into his struggles and internal conflict about living up to his potential. The Big Bang Theory, TBD, was known for its blend of nerdy humor and character-driven comedy. While Sheldon's eccentricities provided endless laughs, the show never took itself too seriously. It leaned into quirky interactions, over-the-top scenarios, and social awkwardness to keep the audience entertained. Sure, there were emotional moments. Who can forget Sheldon's relationship with Amy or his friendship with Leonard? But for the most part, TBD thrived in a more lighthearted, comedic realm. In contrast, Young Sheldon's database storyline is far more introspective. Rather than focusing on Sheldon's awkward attempts to explain complex ideas to his peers, the narrative digs deeper into Sheldon's inner turmoil. As he works on this database, Sheldon is forced to confront his fears of failure, his desire for validation, and his frustrations with the limitations of his environment. It's not just a geeky endeavor, it's a character arc about ambition, isolation, and the burden of being a genius in a world that doesn't fully understand him. This shift in tone has left viewers stunned. For many, it's a breath of fresh air to see a show that's willing to explore Sheldon's emotional depth. But for others, it's a sharp departure from what they signed up for. It begs the question, did Young Sheldon take a wrong turn in its mission to depict a young exploded with mixed reactions? Some fans love the new direction, praising the writers for showcasing Sheldon's intellectual journey in a more profound way. They argue that it's important to show how Sheldon's incredible mind was both a blessing and a curse as he navigated childhood, and that exploring this side of his character can only add richness to the overall story. On the other hand, there are those who feel betrayed. For them, Young Sheldon was supposed to be an extension of the lighthearted, nerdy humor that made TBD a cultural phenomenon. The shift toward a more dramatic, intense storyline has left some fans questioning whether the show has lost its way. I love seeing Sheldon grow, but this feels like a completely different show, one fan tweeted. Where's the fun? Where's the nerdy chaos we expect? The shift in tone isn't just about Sheldon's character, it also reflects a broader trend in how television is evolving. Shows that were once purely comedic are now experimenting with more serious and introspective themes. Young Sheldon's decision to tackle deeper issues within Sheldon's intellectual development reflects this shift, as creators aim to make the show more than just a comedy about a child prodigy. But there's a fine line between portraying emotional growth and abandoning the lightness that made the show enjoyable in the first place. As young Sheldon evolves, it might just be pulling away from its sitcom roots, and in the process, it's distinguishing itself from the tone of The Big Bang Theory in a way that fans can't ignore. The database story arc may be the most glaring example yet, but it likely won't be the last time we see this tonal shift. Looking ahead, it's clear that young Sheldon is not afraid to explore the complexities of Sheldon's character. If the database storyline is any indication, Sheldon's future will be shaped by more than just his quirky science experiments and awkward social interactions. His emotional growth, struggles, and ultimate triumphs will likely be explored in greater depth, giving fans a more nuanced understanding of the man he becomes on The Big Bang Theory. That said, young Sheldon will need to strike a balance. Fans want the laughs, the nerdy references, and the relatable moments that made the show a hit. But they also seem ready for a more serious portrayal of Sheldon's inner world, as long as it doesn't overshadow the heart of the show, the lovable, brilliant, and eccentric genius we've come to know and love. The database story arc may have taken young Sheldon in a direction that surprised fans, but it also showcased the show's potential to break free from the shadow of The Big Bang Theory. Whether or not this marks a permanent tonal shift remains to be seen, but one thing is for certain: Sheldon's journey is far from over, and as the show continues to evolve, it will be fascinating to see how it balances the serious and the comedic, and whether it can still hold onto the magic that made The Big Bang Theory so special. If there's one thing for sure, young Sheldon's database story is proving that Sheldon Cooper's legacy is anything but predictable. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.